Hello, welcome to year 2 of the past Pulpit Mock Draft Show. I am your host. With me today is the ever handsome Keegan Steeple. Keegan, how are we doing tonight, pal?
I'm doing great. This is like months in the making. I'm very excited to finally get through this. We're not doing 10 this year. Neither one of us have the mental capacity to do that, but a nice, concise 3. It's going to be fun. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so if you guys are returning from last year, the format's obviously a little bit different. Spags is no longer with us, RIP. He's a busy guy, too busy for too big.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive. Spags is dead. Sorry, Dark Blue Gold. So it's going to be a condensed show this year, only 3 episodes. So we're going to do offense, defense, and then Patriots-specific fits. So this week will be offense, next week will be defense, and then draft week we'll be doing some Patriots-themed stuff, and then we'll have the live draft show on round 1 again. It's going to be we're going to be shooting for an hour. Anyone who's watched this or the weekly show from this season knows that keeping things concise is not exactly our strong suit. So we'll see how it goes. But Keegan, throw me the first round name. We'll get right into it. Throw me the first round name that has you excited this year offensively.
It's a part of the show right here. It's a part of who I am as a person. We're going to talk a little bit of Chris Olave. I feel like if I do a draft show where we talk about offensive football players and I don't mention it, then it's, I'm not me as a person. So I feel like we can do, 3 or 4, maybe 5-10 minutes. No, we'll do like 2 minutes on Chris Olave. I know other people have like huge opinions on him against me because I'm so deep onto that bandwagon, but I really want to have the discussion because I feel like me and you are on kind of opposite ends of the spectrum with him. So we'll have the talk.
Yep. So we'll get right into it. And as the number one Chris Olave stand, we can see it on the board behind you. I'm just gonna let you wax poetic for a minute. Go ahead and tell me why he is the next coming for you.
So a lot of it goes back to, I feel like we do this a lot, people who follow the draft, but a lot of it goes back to like, oh, when did I find out about this guy? And if I was early on him, then it just kind of pushes home the fact that I really like him as a player. Mm-hmm. As we all know, if you've ever heard me talk about Chris Olave, 2017, I was in on him. I was in high school. He was in high school. We were high school pals. Not actually, but like him going into Ohio State, I liked him as a player. His freshman year against Michigan, he had a huge game. He blocked a punt, scored a touchdown as a guy who barely ever played that year. Next year, he came in, was the number 1 receiver on a team that went to the national championship. Year after that, or there was another year where he was good. Then the national championship. And then this past year, he went back. They didn't end up making the playoff, but he was, kind of the guy who set that offense up for success, the number 1 offense in all of college football. So shout out the Woo Sox, by the way. Working there all 2022 should be fun. Go Sox, go Woo Sox. So it starts off with me being there early on him, like loved it. And then as I look at this crop of wide receivers, you have the top guy without a doubt. I think everybody believes he's the top guy when he's not hurt is Jameson Williams. But towards ACL, who knows how you're going to bounce back from that, especially a guy with his frame, like super, super skinny. They're just question marks. So you've got a guy where he's going to lose a little bit of value. And then there's a crop of like 2 or 3 guys who are kind of like Olave, where they're the smaller outside guys like a Jahan Dotson, Garrett Wilson. They each have their own thing that sets them apart from each other. But what I like a lot about Olave is that he's always open. He's a guy who can run a crisp route, get open. He's not going to like take the ball and break 3 tackles and score a touchdown. But if you need to throw a ball to a guy, he's going to be there and he's going to be open for you. And when I think about what the Patriots need, what I would look for in a receiver, he is that person. He's a safety blanket. He's dependable. He's reliable. And I love that about him.
Okay, so real quick before I bite back here a little bit, because I am ADHD brain and didn't even get into what the second half of the show will be about. After we talk for about half an hour or so on some specific prospects that we find interesting, we will get into the actual mock draft. And you guys should be sticking around for the mock draft because the audience is going to play a role this year. Again, if you guys stuck around last year, you know that Keegan, myself, and Spags would randomize an order, and then we'd pick through that order. So if Keegan picked first, he picked first, fourth, seventh, and so on. This year, the chat is going to take place of Spags. So you guys will have a spot in the order. I'll give you 60 seconds when you're on the clock to put in who you want at that spot. Whoever's the most popular answer is going to be the pick. So the more people in here, the more people giving their opinion there, the better. So that's going to be coming second half. So stay around for that. Now, in terms of Chris Olave, first of all, he's canceled because you cannot be a first-round pick before you're draft eligible, still be a first-round pick once you become draft eligible, and then come back to school to be the third wide receiver on a non-playoff team. That's just you're canceled. In reality, he's a good player. If you guys were here for the show last year, I was very low, not very low, but I was low on Devontae Smith relative to expectations of him. They're good players. Olave is very similar to me. They're good players. They're very talented, crisp route runners. They're going to have success in the league. I would let they belong in the first round. I would let someone else take the risk in the first round, take the chance in the first round, because especially for this specific Patriots team, and we'll get to it as we get deeper into the wide receivers here, but I see a very narrow path to Chris Olave being a star. I think that he should be a good wide receiver, like a solid number 2 at worst for a while. But that's not what the Patriots need. They need a star, and I don't really see the path for Olave to be one unless he's going to be upsetting a lot of historical trends in the NFL because he's small. I'm pulling up his measurables now. He's small. He's listed at 6 foot 185. 18th percentile weight, 35th percentile. 6 feet's fine, but he's very frail. Same thing as Devontae Smith last year. He doesn't have long arms. He has short wings. He has a very tiny wingspan. He's fast, but he's not particularly explosive. He had a terrible vertical jump, had a above average broad. He just doesn't have the measurables of someone that is going to become a true difference maker in the league. And at that point, I'm probably all set at 21. I'd rather take a chance on someone who's less refined and could be a worse player at the NFL, but has that star power potential for this specific Patriots team. So Olave, good player, belongs in the first round. It'll be a good pick for someone, not for the Patriots, I don't think.
2 quick things, and then we'll move on because I could go 40 minutes. One, wingspan doesn't matter. It's all about arm length. Wingspan's fake.
His arm length also sucks. I was being nice.
All right, I'm just saying. Chest length. I think this is a good note for everybody. Chest length has nothing to do with whether or not you can catch a football. That's
correct.
It's a fact. And then 2, I think I am disputing the fact that he wouldn't be a good pick at 21. I think it'd be a fantastic pick. I think he'll go before 21. But just the way I view it is not so much Patriots fit because the Patriots do need a guy who's a true difference maker. I think they have a lot of, maybe Chris Olave, but down on a scotch, just a tiny bit. I think Chris Olave can be a little bit better than Kendrick Bourne right away, if that makes sense.
He can walk in. I would strongly disagree.
I know
obviously I am very high on the Kendrick Bourne bandwagon, but I think what you're saying, I agree with you. Again, I said it about the Patriots, but I think that issue applies to just the logic of taking Chris Olave, period, even if they were more desperate at wide receiver, because in the first round, I don't need someone that I think is going to be a good number 2 for their career, especially in the top half of the first round. If you're assuming that he's going to be gone by the time the Patriots pick, that's right. Not a wide receiver, especially in drafts where wide receiver is only getting deeper to the point where people, analytics nerds are already trying to start making it the next running back, in that it really doesn't matter who you have as long as you have some. The college wide receivers are more NFL ready than ever. And I don't think that you need to be taking one in the first round just because he's slightly more NFL ready than everyone else, even if the upside isn't there. And it's why I don't feel like the Patriots should be taking a wide receiver in this draft anyway, unless Jameson Williams is there, who we'll transition to here. Now, in my opinion, Jameson Williams is the only bona fide round 1, can be a difference maker at the position right away type wide receiver in this draft. Is he your wide receiver 1 as well?
Yeah, he is. I think it would be asinine to, biases aside. He's number 1 without a doubt.
There's Jameson is on his own tier, and I'm not sold on him the way I was sold on Jamar Chase last year. I'd say he's about on the plane of like a Jalen Waddle. I was very high on Rashad Bateman last year, if you guys remember. So I'd put him about that level. So it's not that blue chip top 10 guy, but between 10 and 20, he should be coming off the board as wide receiver 1, in my opinion. Outside of him, though, I don't think that there's a wide receiver in this draft that I would want the Patriots specifically to be taking at 21. Just given who should definitely be there at that point, because I see a lot of guys who have paths to being superstars, but they're very narrow paths, and the Patriots don't need more solid number 2 guys. They have 3 of them on the roster right now, 4 of them on the roster, depending on how you feel about Ags. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, it's kind of like the problem they ran into in 2019, where that was like a historical, really good wide receiver draft. But going into the draft, a lot of it was people can get good value with these picks, like DK and Debo and AJ Brown. Going into the draft, they were all end of the first round, top of the second round guys. And what the mistake the Patriots made was viewing N'Keal Harry as a guy who had a higher ceiling and could do the things that they wanted. They were dead wrong, obviously. But I feel like they could get caught in a situation like that this year, where we could talk about Drake London a little bit. I know we have differing opinions on him as well, but say a team stretches like the Jets, who a lot of people mock Drake London to the Jets very early in the draft. Say they stretch for a guy like him. I think that's a slippery slope with that kind of player, where if everything doesn't go right for him, then you could be looking at a huge mistake in terms of drafting him that high. And there are other guys like Jahan Dotson does one thing well, and that's about it. Garrett Wilson, who knows what's going to happen when Garrett Wilson, if you want to have him as be your number 1 wide receiver, he's always been around elite wide receiver talent, and he's never been the guy. So there's a lot that's my opinion. I watched every Ohio State football game for the past 5 years. He was just never the guy. So a lot of the wide receivers, I feel like they could fall in that category where they're not quite the elite difference maker that you would be looking for in the first round.
Like I said, wide receivers are coming into the NFL more pro ready than they've ever been. And we saw it when the Patriots made the Devontae Parker trade. A lot of the common take on Twitter, Brian Phillips was someone championing it, is that as long as it doesn't impact their willingness to go take a wide receiver in the first or second round this year, then it's fine. It's not game changing. It's not game changing. I agree with that, but I think it does completely change the math on what they need on when they should be targeting wide receiver, because they have bodies now. There's no room for a rookie wide receiver, and with the needs on this team elsewhere, there's no need. There's no need. You can go take a wide receiver next year, and you will get someone like Chris Olave. You'll find someone like Drake London. You'll find someone like Christian Watson in next year's draft that you can sell yourself on. They'll have a more immediate role, and they very well could be better, because I'm not terribly high on this draft in the first place. I think the Devontae Parker trade completely takes them out of the market at wide receiver. Again, unless like a Jameson falls, probably until day 3 for me. I'm probably all set until day 3 at wide receiver at this point in this class.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. I definitely think it's not your number 1 priority, and I feel like this is an opportunity to get into the number 1 priority, which you'll take us to.
Yep. Well, I'm curious, what do you think is the number 1 priority then?
You just don't have a starting guard. You just you don't have one, or you have one, you don't have 2. So I think you can't just roll into the season with Drew Desjardins, who you plucked out of the Canadian Football League, as your starting right guard or left guard, wherever you want to put on Onwenu. Don't think that's a great idea, personally. I think you should probably go out and grab a guy who can start right away. So
I would agree. I have a different top need, but we'll get to that next week.
Okay. Just real quick, just because something's your top need doesn't mean you need to, draft. I think you need a guard. You need one that's a starting capable guard, because you're going to be running the football so much, and it's so important to protect a young quarterback. But that doesn't mean you need to draft them in the first round. It's all about finding the best value for your number 1 need, where I think in this class, the best value is in the second and third rounds at that position. So, we're focused on first round guys, but
that being said, there are exactly 2 guards that if they took at 21, I would be ecstatic about.
Correct.
So whether they are the best pick to take at 21, we'll see. It depends on how the board falls, but there are 2 that are absolutely in my mix of targets that I would want at 21. Not even in a trade back, just at 21. Real quick, let's wrap up. I want to wrap up the wide receivers. So Jameson, do we agree Jameson's in his own tier?
Yes.
Okay. In my next tier, I have Garrett Wilson, Drake London, and Chris Olave. And they all, I think, have a path to being very good football players, potential like game-changing wide receivers. I think the path is very narrow for each of them for different reasons, but I would group them all together. And I want to ask you about London because I know you are very much lower on London than I am.
Yeah, I would say I'm lower on him, but I'm not low on him, if that makes sense. Like the fact that he's getting top 15 play is crazy to me. Taking a risk on a guy who was playing basketball 2 years ago and is still kind of learning, not the wide receiver position, but kind of really how to play football altogether. A guy who had nagging ankle injuries in college, a guy who went to a school who threw the ball a ton, and that's the reason why he was able to do the things that he was able to do. Played in the Pac-12, so he played against tiny little cornerbacks, and he's a big dude, obviously former Division I college basketball player. I think, like you said, with the very small path for him to become a great football player, I think it's a tad bit smaller than those other two guys that you mentioned.
To me, I tweeted it out. The perfect landing spot for him is Minnesota, where he can be like the slightly poor man's T. Higgins to Justin Jefferson's Jamar Chase. I think that's a beautiful fit for him. I think that he moves really well for someone his size. He's a better route runner than most people his size are. And I think if everything comes together, he can be Mike Evans. That's his ceiling to me. His floor is probably about N'Keal Harry. So that's where the balancing act comes
in. That's
huge. So, but that is the type of pick. If I were to be stacking up Garrett Wilson, Drake London, and Chris Olave for the Patriots specifically, London's probably the first one I'm taking because that's what they need. It's people would have absolute PTSD from N'Keal Harry, but he would have the ability to change this offense, A, more immediately, and B, more substantially than Wilson or Olave to me. And it's a similar reason why Christian Watson is in my next tier by himself, in that I would want to trade down if I took him, but I would probably take him at 21 or take him in the first round.
Yeah, and wide receiver is so hard just because you could have two guys who are, just because they're wide receivers doesn't mean they're similar at all. Like two very completely different football players. And that's where the value thing comes in, because like none of the top 10 guys that people talk about, other than Skye Moore, who some people have had jump into the top 10, I'm not quite there yet, they're all outside guys. None of them are slot receivers. So you kind of cut off a whole entire aspect of the offense. And for the Patriots, it's a very big aspect to their offense. It's a very big part of what they do is needing that quality, good slot receiver. And they've got one who's not quite there yet in Jacoby Myers. Like, he's dependable, but he's no Julian Edelman or Wes Welker, right? So, but no one's drafting a slot receiver in the first round. So I think with what the Patriots do well and what they've won with, I'm not super concerned about like, oh, we need a guy who's a Mike Evans or whoever. I think they can succeed with like two number twos and a couple number threes, as long as that one of those number threes is just a really good slot receiver. I think they can contend with that. So I'm not wide receiver throughout this entire process has never been a big kind of need for me.
They have every type of receiving weapon they need. It's just the quality of them is the question mark. And I don't think that there's clear upgrades here. That's all it comes down to. I have a couple other wide receivers I want to talk about, but we're getting low on time and we have some specific names we want to get to. So I'll bring them up in that portion. So let's get to some others of your specific names. You have a quarterback here that you want to talk about, Akil Glass, the small school quarterback out of Alabama A&M. I'll be honest, I watched him and I didn't really see where the appeal was coming from, so I want to hear it from you.
So Akil Glass is not going to be drafted. It's just not going to happen. I think the Patriots, based off of what they've done for the past few seasons, would love to add a camp arm or a camp arm with the ability to maybe snag a roster spot, be that third quarterback, and develop into like maybe a backup. They've done it before. I wouldn't say Jacoby Brissett was there because they knew Brady's suspension was coming and they knew they needed a backup, so that's why they reached for him in the third round. But Jacoby Brissett was always going to be a guy who they wanted to be their long-term backup. Didn't end up happening. They traded him away because they had it was whatever. We don't need to get into it. I think Akil Glass is the perfect camp arm. And when we talk about the draft, everybody thinks whoever someone talks about needs to be a first-round pick. No, I think Akil Glass is the perfect guy to grab an undrafted free agency. He's got a huge arm. have him go into camp and just act like all of the quarterbacks that you're going to have around, which he can do. I think he can play that Josh Allen role for you at practice. He can do
So can someone clip this? Keegan Stiefel thinks that Mac Jones needs to be replaced.
Correct. No, I think it's so weird to me that they've got a guy who's in his mid-30s, he's just not good at throwing the football anymore, but he's a genius. I'm sorry. But he knows the team, so that's why he's around, right? He's around to help Mac Jones out. And then Jarrett Stidham, who everybody thought was going to be the starter 2 years ago and is now clinging on to his roster spot for dear life.
Might not have a shoulder anymore. No one can confirm.
He might not have a back. Like the guy had back surgery last year. It's like these are big things. And I think you said, hey, give me 5 guys, a little peek behind the curtain. Ryan was like, give me 5 guys that interest you as potential Patriots fits. And I went with a couple guys that I've talked about a ton, a couple guys who I just like as football players. And then I was like, I want one guy who I think that no one's talked about yet that could be a fit, and I think that could potentially actually happen. And Akil Glass was that guy for me. So that's why I did it.
Okay. All right. I respect it. And I'm going to use him to transition into some quarterback talk because we haven't really touched on any of them. How do you feel about this quarterback class overall? Give me just a no specific names yet. Overall, how do you feel about it?
Dog shit.
Is there a first round quarterback to you?
In my opinion, there's not.
Okay. I have two. Would you like to guess at who the 2 are?
Malik Willis and Matt Corral.
1 for 2. You got Malik Willis. He is my quarterback 2. My quarterback 1 is Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder is good. Desmond Ridder he's not first overall pick, obviously. Probably not a top 10 pick. I need to look at the mock. If a somewhat quarterback needy team pops up for me, Desmond Ridder might be going a lot earlier than any of you expect. If I get like a Washington or someone who might need a quarterback here. I think that he has the best chance to be a slightly above average to pretty good borderline Pro Bowl type quarterback. He's got all the mental, he's got the physical. Arm accuracy is not there, but it's there in flashes. I think his throwing motion needs a little bit of work. It's not terrible, and you can work with the bad motion if it works for you. So if you can find a nice little balance between tweaking it and letting him stay comfortable, I think that there's stuff there. I'd probably take him over Mac Jones if Mac Jones went back into this draft even after Mac's rookie year. He's probably the only one of these quarterbacks that I would say that about. That's not really a Mac insult. I like Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder would be probably quarterback 4 for me last year above Zach Wilson and Mac. Like comfortably behind Lawrence, Fields, and Lance at the top of that Wilson-Mac tier behind him. I think Ridder's pretty good.
You talked about clipping my tangent. That's a clip. You actually want Mac Jones replaced with Desmond Ridder of all people. Yeah. Thank you, Team Crazy Matt. Clip it. Ryan Kieran wants Desmond Ridder at 21. Yeah. I'll readily admit that I'm not super comfortable evaluating quarterbacks because I think you need to be smart to do it. And I'm not saying people who do it aren't smart. I just think to accurately kind of know how somebody's going to translate to the next level, you need to be like Mark Schofield. I would ask about quarterbacks because he's smart and he knows what he's talking about. I don't. I'm much more comfortable evaluating like a guard or a center or defensive tackle. But I will say with this class, I think talent-wise, in terms of like arm talent, a lot of them are very close. Some of them are down. Sam Howell, that's kind of like the only thing he has is he can throw a pretty football every once in a while. I think Malik Willis has a crazy good arm, but his decision making is
Malik Willis is so far away, but he has the talent at where like in the late first, like the Saints have 2 first-round picks now. If he falls to their second first-round pick, like I can get on board swinging there. That's
right.
The thing.
Matt Corral is like a tiny little person, and do you hate him? That's very interesting.
I'm out on anyone who isn't Ridder or Willis.
Okay. And Kenny Pickett is just a backup quarterback. That's just who he is. And Ritter's the one guy who I don't know a lot about. So I won't push back on it.
To me,
I won't endorse it.
People are mad at me for in the chat for what I said, understandably so. It's not against Mac. Ritter to me is very similar to Mac mentally. I think that they both are very advanced on the mental side of the game. And I think if they didn't take Mac last year, Desmond Ritter would be someone that it would be heavily linked to the Patriots. He is like if all of Mac's accuracy was transitioned into arm talent. I think they're two sides of the same coin where they have the great brain. Mac has excellent accuracy, questionable arm talent. I think Ritter has a lot of arm talent, questionable accuracy. In today's game, especially with the quarterback landscape in the AFC, I'd probably want the upside that comes with the arm talent if you can figure out how to get him to harness it, than the accuracy and hoping that he somehow ticks that up at the NFL level that we're currently doing with Mac. So it would be splitting hairs, but I think Ritter would be just above Mac for me. The floor is also significantly lower though, because that's how it goes with arm talent versus accuracy guys though. So it's a coin flip.
Yeah, slippery slope. I am very happy that we don't have to do quarterback talk again this
year. I'm absolutely relieved. I would take Mac on this team over having to talk about this quarterback class with the Patriots in need.
Correct. I agree. Absolutely. So I think it's time to move on from the quarterbacks because I hate this class. I think it's terrible.
And we'll talk every offensive player that gets drafted during the mock tonight. We'll talk a little bit about in case we didn't cover them. Like we haven't talked about the top tackles, so we'll get to them when they get drafted. We have a few more names to get through here. We're at close to a half an hour now, so we will kind of rapid fire these. So you had a pair of offensive linemen, Nicholas Petit-Frere, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State, and Dylan Parham, who's probably going to be a guard at the next level out of Memphis. Just give me a few thoughts on each of them.
Nicholas Petit-Frere is literally, I did the math on it. He's literally closer to what the Patriots typically draft than any other player in the draft at his position. So I took the combine numbers, size, explosion, speed, all those numbers. I averaged them out to one player. And then I compared to all of the prospects at every position in this draft. No one was closer than Nicholas Petit-Frere in terms of size and athletic ability. So I think it's tough to translate that into this is what they look for because there are highs and lows on those charts. But I think it was very interesting how close he was to what they like, and the tackle, the differences in kind of the norm for tackle aren't as big as other positions. So I did find that interesting. I think he's a good player, and he probably lost 20 picks worth of value just because of he got abused by Aiden Hutchinson in the Ohio State Michigan game. But I think he's a good player. I think he's he could step in right away and be a right tackle and maybe in the future be a left tackle. Dylan Parham, I think they need a guard. Like I said earlier, I think it's their number one need in terms of kind of just putting this team together. But I don't believe that means that they need to draft a guard in the first round. I like 2 guards in the first round, like you said earlier. But the best value pick, in my opinion, is Dylan Parham. He's right around that 85 range is where they're picking in the third round. That's kind of where his value is. What was that?
You think he's going to be a third round pick? I'd kind of start to peg him more as a second.
Yeah, I think he's going to fall a little bit because there are a lot of tackles who are going to be drafted, and people are going to expect them to play guard if they can't play, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like a Darian Kennard, whoever. So I think other guys they're going to reach for them over him. And he kind of fits what they look for in a guard, where he's very good on the ground, and in the passing game, his deficiencies can be corrected by the players around him and by coaching, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I kind of speed ran through them. I don't have very concrete takes. I like Parham. I would like him at the Patriots' second round or third round pick. My number one takeaway from Petit-Frere is that his last name literally means little brother, and you cannot have that last name when you're an offensive tackle. But other than that, I mean, he's got the frame. He's a good athlete for the position, so I wouldn't mind them taking a chance there.
Just real quick, Ike Ekwonu, who is a guy that we're probably not going to touch on a whole ton today. His name, Ikem, means my effort will not be in vain. That's a first overall pick name. That is absolutely. That's the best name of the draft. So absolutely.
All right. We have 3 more names to talk about real quick. They're all wide receivers here, and then I have one more question, then we'll get into the mock draft. So Khalil Shakir was the 5th name that you gave me. And I sent it to you in the chat as I was watching him. I said, my man said, give me Chris Olave and late day 2 Chris Olave. I mean, Khalil Shakir is just Chris Olave from a small school. They're the same player.
Yeah, like his
He's
testing
worse,
numbers are
but
a
they're the
little
same
bit
player.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
no,
worse
you're
than
right.
Olave, but they're the same player.
And the fact that you said that is very funny because I was on the phone with Spags like a month ago, and he brought up Khalil Shakir, and I was like, "Yeah, that's Chris Olave or Great Value brand Chris Olave. They're the same player. They do the same things." I have a type, I guess you could say.
I would like Khalil Shakir in the, what do you think, 4th round?
Yeah, they'd probably have to trade
third?
up from where they're picking in the 4th. Like they have to fill that gap, but
right.
Yeah.
Late 3rd, 4th round. I'd like him there better than Chris Olave for similar reasons. Again, I think that the floor is there for them. Maybe not for Shakir. The floor is there for Olave. The ceiling is just not there. So I would rather take that in late day 2, early day 3. Wouldn't say I'm like his biggest fan in the world or anything either, but I see the value there. Better than Olave in the 1st, at least. And then I had a couple names I wanted to ask you about. Treylon Burks. Talk to me about Treylon Burks.
I think his speed number is getting blown out of proportion because you don't need to run a 4.3, and he can run away from people, and we've seen it on tape. And I'm a big if someone shows something on tape, I'm not going to take it away from them, especially in the SEC. Mm-hmm. I think his ceiling and his floor are closer than a lot of other people believe, if that makes sense. I think he is who he is.
You feel confident that yeah. Do you think that that's a valuable player?
He's just going to be fine. Yeah. He's going to be fine.
Where would you take him? Not for the Patriots necessarily, just in general.
Yeah, I wouldn't draft him in the 1st round. I'd say like top to middle of the 2nd round pick. Wherever Debo got drafted, he should have been a 1st round pick, but wherever he got drafted, that's where they should draft him.
That was like 34. I'm glad you said that because that's the comparison everyone wants to make. And there's just Debo's a borderline unicorn. Yes. And if you're taking Treylon to try and beat Debo, you're gonna be disappointed. He is very close to Akil for me. I'm probably 36. Thank you, Matt. I'm probably out on him. If he fell to the Patriots 2nd round pick, I would probably take the chance there, but he's not going to. So just at cost, I think I'm out on him. The numbers, I kept going back and forth when I was watching. I was like, I have no clue how to feel about him, so let me see his numbers. And then his numbers came out. I was like, I still have no clue how to feel about him. I think I'm just all set. Similar to Olave, Devontae Smith last year. I see where the good player can be, but I'm going to let someone else figure that one out. And then I wanted to hear your thoughts on Skye Moore.
We've done so much Skye Moore talk on my podcast because Spags and Pat love him. I would say Pat loves him. Spags is kind of in on him. Mm-hmm. What are we doing drafting a slot receiver in the 2nd round? You've got a guy who can do it, and then you've got another guy who can do it better than the guy who does it, which is Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne.
I understand Skye Moore less than any other person I've watched in this draft, and that's not a lot. This was not a big draft year for your boy, but I do not get Skye Moore at all. It feels like people want to make him this year's Elijah Moore, and I don't think he's even good. He's not. He's not. No, I think Elijah Moore is very good. I don't think Skye Moore is good. Okay. He's been talked about this year the same way Elijah Moore picked up steam last year. Excuse me.
Tough day.
I'm coming off COVID, so I get the excuse. So I don't understand Skye Moore at all. He's a small school guy. He's not a crazy athlete. He didn't look like the far and away best athlete on the field, and they didn't ask him to do anything. He was either clearing space or running slants the entire time. He was Western Michigan, right? I don't get Skye Moore. I get that short little slot receivers that can move a little bit are fun. He isn't really agile. It shows on tape, like you said. If you see it on tape, it's okay to trust it. But when it's a small school guy that you're projecting to the NFL, I'm not going to trust it as much. I just don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah, he didn't. And what's funny about him is he fell off the face of the earth when they played bigger school teams, when they weren't playing MAC teams, when they were playing Ohio State or Michigan. It was
he's like every red flag that I have at wide receiver. He doesn't have a trump card. He's not a crazy athlete. He's a small school guy. He wasn't asked to do a lot. He's not an advanced route runner. He's not a refined route runner. There's nothing. He's a day 3 pick to me. I would be okay rolling the dice in the 4th round, and people are talking about him going in the 20s right now.
So this was my comparison to him, which people are going to hate. Remember Jalen Darden, who plays for the Bucks?
Yep.
We talked about him last year. He was coming out of North Texas, and he set records at North Texas. But you just knew when he got to the next level, he just wasn't going to have enough against NFL corners. Same thing with Skye Moore. I think they're very similar players where Jalen Darden maybe got drafted in the 7th round, and Skye Moore is going to be a 2nd round pick. And some people think he's a top 20 guy, which is crazy.
Like he's fast enough. He's incredibly short. Came in under 5'10". He's a little bulkier, so he doesn't have the Olave, body mass type issue. Short arms, good 10-yard split, doesn't have great explosion, terrible 3-cone time, bad shuttle time. The only thing he was above average in was the 40 and the broad jump, and he had a good 40 time and an okay broad jump. It's a hard pass for me. He didn't get asked to do anything. By the way, two of his top 3 comparisons are Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. So, thanks. And then my last question,
Darden did, just real quick, he did go in the 4th round. I was wrong about that. My bad.
Because we got asked here, and we're still wrapping up wide receiver. We got asked about Pickens. I haven't seen him, so just give me a few thoughts on
him. The way he plays football, I'm worried about the ACL. He's like a huge. I'm gonna slam my foot into the turf and cut as hard as I can. He's also a vertical player. Like that's how Georgia used him, just because they had so many different players and they were so heavy on running backs. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole in the first 2 rounds. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but I think the 3rd round is perfect for him just for what I believe he can do versus what I think he will do. I think the 3rd round is probably where his value's at.
Okay. And then just to wrap up each position, give me your top running back. We probably won't be taking one in the 1st round. I don't think so. Who's your top running back?
It's like a top. I'm 1A, 1B, Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall.
Okay. Yep. Kenneth Walker is the Michigan State, right?
Michigan State. He just did not play. I think he went to Wake Forest or Vanderbilt, one of the two. He just didn't play there. Then he went to Michigan State and was the best player in college football for a few weeks.
Okay.
He's very good. He's an in between the tackles guy. He can bounce out. He can run. Like he's got all of it. And then Breece Hall is just a crazy athlete. I think Breece Hall is going to be like Leonard Fournette, if that makes sense. Which I'll take Leonard Fournette as a 2nd round pick.
Right. Okay. Cool. So let's get into the mock draft then. I'm going to need to reconfigure my screen a little bit, so you're going to bear with me for a second here. Let me share my screen. All right. So we have the randomizer here. So again, I'm going to be picking first set of teams. Keegan's going to be picking first set of teams. And chat, you will be picking first set of teams. So whatever order this comes out in, whoever's first will pick for 1st, 4th, 7th. 2nd will pick 2, 5, 8, and then 3, 6, 9, etc. So you want the 3rd pick if you want to be picking for the Patriots. When we get to chat, I'm not going to put a timer up or anything. We're just going to give you about a minute, throw some names out. Whoever seems to be the most common choice in the chat will be the pick. So be ready to comment when it gets to chat's turn. We'll try to keep this moving as we hit offensive players. If we haven't talked much about them yet, we'll talk about them a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to be a standard mock. We probably won't do trades. I'm not going to say no trades, but we're not going to be like searching them out. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Everyone on board? All right. So we're going to randomize this. Keegan, you get the 1st overall pick. I'm going to pick 2nd, and chat will pick 3rd and gets to be the 1st pick for the Patriots. And then I'm thinking what we'll do, since we're doing 3 episodes, is we'll just rotate this each week.
Okay.
So you'll pick 2nd, I'll pick 3rd, and then you'll pick 3rd, and I'll pick. Well, I guess we're doing Patriots at the end, so that might not work. But anyway, okay, we'll figure it out. So Keegan, you're going to be on the clock with the 1st pick, picking for the Jaguars for the 2nd year in a row. Obviously, last year they took Trevor Lawrence and then Travis Etienne. Who are you thinking here?
I want to keep this, semi-realistic. I don't want to just pick who I think is the best player in the draft. So we're going to go Aiden Hutchinson. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick. He's got a podcast with PFF if you're interested in that.
I could not imagine in a world where there is 99% too many podcasts already. I cannot imagine a world where anyone wants to listen to Aiden Hutchinson talk about anything before he's even a draft pick.
Shout out our pal Austin Gale, who he's doing the podcast with. We don't want to slander our boy. He's been very nice to us. So But Aiden Hutchinson, he's going to be the first overall pick. So let's start off with a solid.
So you're not buying the Trayvon Walker hype?
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
I think teams who are telling these, the guys who are like, oh, my sources say Trayvon Walker might be the first overall pick. That's monkey wrench, smoke screen, trying to trick some people into doing things that they don't want to do.
I could see it only because that's the exact type of defensive lineman that Trent Baalke has historically loved. I buy it a little bit. I'm not sure that I think that it's going to happen, but I can see where the thought process is coming from, to the point where if it's a smoke screen, it's a good smoke screen.
I get it. We did this thing last year where we're doing it with Thibodeau. I'm going to go on a rant. This is for next week. Go ahead.
All right. So Aiden Hutchinson first overall. That takes me to the Lions at 2. Nakobe Dean is the best player in this draft. I'm not going to take him here, but I just wanted to put that out right now. Nakobe Dean is the best player in this draft. Kyle Hamilton is the second best player in this draft. Derek Stingley is the third best player in the draft. Kayvon Thibodeau is the fourth best player in the draft, and I don't understand why he's falling. The report came out either today or yesterday that it sounds like he's going to be the pick at 2, assuming he's there, which he will be. I don't understand why it ever stopped being like that. It reminds me of Joey Bosa when he was drafted, where it was like, oh yeah, this is the first overall guy. And I was like, oh yeah, is he going to go top 10? And then he went 3rd. And he was very good.
Still is.
Yeah, still is. So Kayvon Thibodeau is the pick here. He should be the first overall pick probably when you just combine talent and positional value, but it doesn't seem like that's where we're going to be living in. So Thibodeau at 2. And now, chat, you have the every position need Texans at 3. So
that's very funny. It's so disrespectful, but it's so funny. It's like your team.
And it's accurate. It's accurate.
It's funny.
Top names on the board right now: Kyle Hamilton, Derek Stingley, all the top tackles. PFF loves Trent McDuffie for some reason. But I'll give you about a minute. Some names coming in. We have Equanwu. We have a couple Kyle Hamiltons.
All of our coworkers love Trent McDuffie, by the way.
I like Trent McDuffie a lot too. I
don't think he's the 8th best player in the draft.
No, he's like if there's probably about 7 names that would need to be gone that could be there at 21 before I'd look to him. But at that point, I'd still be happy taking him at 21.
Shout out Dark Blue Cold. I am the 3rd overall pick. I see more Kyle Hamilton than anything else.
I'm seeing more Kyle Hamilton as well.
2 Hamiltons, a couple best player availables.
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts, chat. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I'll give you 10 seconds to get it in here. We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kyle Hamilton's the pick, and I think that's a good pick for them. I think he's the best player in the draft. Yeah, I think any of that Hamilton and then the next 4 that are on the board here, as I move with my hand, not my mouse, would have been fine picks for them. Keegan, you are up with the Jets at 4.
I do want to make like a ridiculous pick because it's the Jets, and I also want to pick. Yeah, I'm gonna go half ridiculous, half serious. I'm gonna go Evan Neal here. Okay. He's my offensive tackle 3. Everybody disagrees with that, but I feel like the Jets would view him as offensive tackle 1. If you ever have watched Evan Neal or Alabama play, he's constantly on the ground. Just run block, pass block. The guy's on the floor after the play. Whether that's effort or just not being able to stand up straight, who knows? But he's the pick at 4.
Okay. I would probably trade this pick if I were the Giants, but I don't have anyone particular in mind to come up, so I'm not going to waste our time with that. I'm going to go with Derek Stingley. Correct me if I'm wrong, they released James Bradbury this offseason, correct?
I believe so, yes. Let's double check.
Yeah, let me do a quick Google here of James Bradbury. Doesn't look like he's been released yet. His name's come up a lot, and it looks like they wanted to trade him, but he's still currently on the team.
Yep. He's a trade market guy.
Yeah. Regardless, though, I'm going to take Derek Stingley because if I'm them and I'm picking at 5 and 7 with the way the board's gone here, I want one of these tackles, but I can take Stingley and know that I'm getting one at 7. So there's no need for me to take one here. That'll be your pick, so we'll see what you do. But I would want to guarantee. I think there's 2, maybe 3 blue chip players left in the class with who's off the board, and Stingley is one of them and has the highest positional value of the 3. So Stingley would be my pick here.
All right, chat.
And that takes us to chat with the Panthers, who need quarterbacks and offensive linemen at 6. What are you thinking? We got an ecom coming in.
Yep, another
one. We've got a couple QBs.
Then 2.
All right.
We're split.
If you guys are in the chat and you're not commenting, go ahead and get in there. If you are watching on Twitch, you don't have an account, just make one real quick. It's free. You'll be able to chat with us. You'll be able to follow us. It's a great time. Go to our YouTube, subscribe there. Come on Twitter and watch there. That Twitter's probably my least favorite place to watch of the 3, but if that's the easiest for you, you're all welcome here.
Twitter's
another
the worst.
Willis. Yeah. We've got a Pickett in here. Having flashbacks with Walker and Christian Ponder. Choices. It looks like Willis is taking over here.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And
their quarterback is Sam Darnold. Very true.
I don't know if you listened to Charles McDonald's new podcast last week, but he talked about it with one of the guests. I think it was Stephen Ruiz, where Matt Rule recruited Kenny Pickett at Temple.
He did.
So it would make absolute sense if they were just lazy and just took Pickett because of that. I think that would make the most sense. But Willis looks to be the pick here, so let's go ahead and get that on the board.
I did, just for shits and gigs, I wanted to mention, go ahead and make the pick, but I wanted to mention that I compiled a few mock drafts, and they were all mock drafts that people claimed, who knows if it's true or not, but claimed that it was all based off of information that they have, and all 3 have Kenny Pickett being the 6th overall pick. So I think that's a popular...
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense, except for the fact that Kenny Pickett isn't good. But connecting dots, it makes a lot of sense. All right, Keegan, you have the Giants' 2nd pick here at 7. We took Derek Stingley.
I'm sprinting to the board and putting Ikem Ekwonu's name. And,
that's just an incredible draft. It doesn't matter what they do the rest of the time. You get Stingley and Ekwonu.
He's OT1 for me. I think he's that good. Huge fan, big fan.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. He is your offensive tackle 1, which means Charles Cross is presumably your offensive tackle 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm torn here on what to do for the Falcons because they are another team that you almost could put everything here for them, right? They need a quarterback. They have Marcus Mariota for this year, but they need a quarterback.
The Oakland Athletics didn't do a damn thing during their offseason. Somehow the Atlanta Falcons had a worse offseason than the Oakland. I know it's different sports, but they alienated their franchise quarterback so much that they had to trade him. That's unbelievable.
I have legitimately no clue what to do here. So I'm going to actually make a trade amongst myself. And I'm going to have the Washington football team, and I will not acknowledge their new name, come up and make this pick to get ahead of the Seahawks, who could potentially take a quarterback.
Okay.
So I'm going to have Washington come up, mainly just buying myself time because I really don't know what I want to do here for the Falcons.
And by the way, just so we don't worry about the picks, you can just force the trade and make it happen, which is
that's
very convenient. Okay.
I would say it would probably cost their next year 1, maybe, or at least this second as well.
I was gonna say
one of the 2,
maybe 2, this year's second, next year's second.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, we're just gonna force the trade. They can figure it out amongst themselves. I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna take Desmond Ridder here, like I was talking about. He would have been my pick if he made it to 11, which he probably would have. But a quarterback's already gone. Falcons could be in the market. Seahawks could be in the market. It's not a huge jump where you're giving up an entire haul. We'll get Desmond Ridder to Washington and curse his career. That is true. They do have Wentz. I honestly forgot they had Wentz. That being said, would you want to stick with Carson Wentz if that was
their entire franchise is about to be indicted? So they have needs at every position. So who knows?
I'm sticking with it because I think that's what I would do for them. So we're good with it. Chat, you were on the board with Seattle, who has a potential solution to tackle that they've been needing for a long time right there. Also some cornerbacks, a couple wide receivers, a lot of positions you guys could go here. Cross or sauce? Cross or that's an incredible sentence.
The age-old question.
Cross or sauce?
Yeah, I think the chat's kind of going in the direction that I would go. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about Seattle, but they're another team who you could just put everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Cross is a good fit there.
Yeah, we've got 6, 7 in a row.
Yeah, it's going to be Cross. Keegan, you are up with the Jets.
Yeah, this is tough because I have no idea what the Jets are going to do.
And as a reminder, we took Evan Neal at 4.
Give me Sauce Gardner. I do think that they really want a wide receiver, but if they're playing the long game and trying to build their roster in terms of value, you got to go with a corner here.
Okay. So we got Sauce off the board. At this point, I'm gonna go. Let me pull up the Falcons depth chart real quick because they had such a train wreck of an offseason. I really don't even know where they're at.
They literally, I can't believe what they did to Matt Ryan. So funny. And while Ryan's looking for his pick, chat's at number 12 with the Minnesota Vikings. You guys can start thinking about who you want there. Who the hell knows what the Minnesota Vikings need? Because I have no idea.
You could start thinking about how Drake London would be a perfect fit next to Justin Jefferson. I'm just saying.
He's just saying, folks.
I mean, yeah, the Falcons are in such bad shape, but they have Auden Tate, Demir Board, and our old friend Demir Board, and Olamide Zacchaeus at wide receiver. So I'm going to go ahead and take wide receiver 1 here for them, Jameson Williams.
I like it.
I was thinking Trayvon Walker, but their defense is in somehow better shape than their offense is right now. So we'll go Jameson, see if maybe Ridley sticks around next year when he's back from that hilarious suspension.
Who was the player that they signed that cost them a comp pick because they signed him to like $2.51 million contract? Was he like a fullback or a running back maybe?
No,
or linebacker?
It was. Let me look at their depth chart again. It was Lorenzo Carter, edge rusher.
Right. Okay. We've got a Walker and McDuffie. Walker.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're looking like Trayvon Walker. Although, to be fair, one Walker McDuffie and Walker for Vikings was from the same person. Won't be cooking the books here. We got another Walker. It's looking like Walker. We had Zion Johnson in there, which is one of the offensive linemen we talked about. I think Walker is a good pick here. We go with
I do too.
Trayvon Walker. All right, chat.
I don't know what Chris Collinsworth is doing over at PFF. George Karlaftis over Trayvon Walker is asinine.
To take. All right, Trayvon Walker off the board to the Vikings. Keegan, you are up with the Texans.
Yeah, so you guys goofed me. I think that was the perfect spot for the Texans to take Walker, but he got taken 1 pick too early. This is just a shitty spot for them to be in. I want the chat's help with this one. I'm in between Karlaftis and Devin Lloyd. I know they need defensive help. They've got like nothing on that defense. So whoever has the first one to answer the question, we'll go with. Because I'm really torn between the two. I think edge rusher is obviously more valuable, but I think Lloyd is just a better player at his position. Yeah, we got 2 Lloyd, so we'll go Devin Lloyd at 13.
All right, Devin Lloyd. Not better than Nakobe Dean, but that's okay.
It's all right. We're going realistic.
All right, we have the Ravens on the clock, and this is me, and I'm looking at the Ravens depth chart right now, and man, the Ravens are going to be so good. It's so annoying.
They're always good.
They really don't have, and they are always good, but they really don't have needs. This would be a trade down spot, I think. But
are you one of those people that hates the Ravens for no reason?
I do hate the Ravens, yes.
The only thing I hate about the Ravens, this is going white guy podcast real quick, but the only thing I hate about the Ravens is the fact that every player, like Anquan Bolden played there for like a year, Steve Smith played there for like 2 years, and they consider themselves like lifelong Ravens. I don't know how that happens. I don't know what they're feeding their players.
The Ravens were just always obnoxious to the Patriots back in the day. And to this day, they're obnoxious. I don't hate them to the level, like I wouldn't consider them a Patriots rival, but I probably hate them more than any team that isn't considered a Patriots rival. Like the Steelers and the AFC East and the Giants are probably all above them. I don't even hate the Dolphins, to be honest. It'd probably be like Jets, Bills, Giants, Steelers, and Ravens, and like Ravens and Broncos.
I think like the Texans are sneaky more of a rival than the Ravens are. Just because.
No.
Yeah, come on.
No.
The Texans just want to be the Patriots so bad. It's so funny.
And they're terrible. You can't be a rival and be terrible. All right, I want Chad opinion here too. I luxury pick Nakobe Dean because he's the best player available right now, and it's not close. Or a more of a need pick with Tyler Linderbaum. They don't need interior offensive linemen, but they have improvements here. Jets are different dark blue gold because they're in the division. Jordan Davis would be another one, but they have so many big boys up front. I'm gonna go Tyler Linderbaum because if Nakobe Dean goes to the Ravens, it'll break my heart.
14 is so high for a center.
It is so high for a center. I don't. What would you have done for them there, Keegan? Because my first thought was corner, but they don't need corners, assuming that Humphrey and Peters come back healthy.
I think Stingley, Stingley's gone and Sauce was gone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's reaching for a corner.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they don't really need Jordan Davis. They have Michael Pierce back. They have Calais Campbell back. They have Derek Wolfe. Like they have big boys, and they're deep. I think they're deep with the big boys.
If the draft shook out the way it's shaking out here, I think they would trade back. But we're just not. We're not that deep into it.
Yeah. The Eagles are on the clock here at 15. We have 2 Nakobe Deans coming in. I think that's a beautiful pick for them. That's a borderline no-brainer. We have 3 in there now, and I think you good with just going forward with it, Keegan? I think that's a no-brainer. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. Nakobe Dean is an absolute stud. Let's jump back real quick because we kind of rushed through it. Do you have thoughts on Linderbaum? We didn't talk about him in the lead up here.
I think no one talks about Jason Kelce unless it's about what he does on Twitter, but he's like Jason Kelce where it's just he'll be wherever he'll be for 15 years and he'll be great.
He's incredible. I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah.
He's as good. He's Quentin Nelson at center. He's as good of a center prospect as you can get.
He legit beat Tristan Wirfs in a wrestling match in high school for the state championships. You beat Tristan Wirfs in anything, top pick.
I want to say I saw, in fact, I have mock draftable up, so let me pull it up. I want to say that if you put him, or no, I need RAS, excuse me. If you put him at running back, he still grades out as a pretty good athlete.
Yeah. It's like a 7. Just crazy.
Yeah, let me pull this up. I'm on the clock, so let me make my pick and then or no, you are on the clock. You're on the clock.
No, I'm on the clock.
Yeah, so you do that and I'm gonna pull this up real quick.
You don't have to do it right now, but I'll make the pick. Jordan Davis is the pick here for me. Black, very slimming for him, which I think is good. He'll look good in that uniform. Also, I think the spot that they're picking in, if they do want a player like that, which I assume they would because he's just such a great athlete at the position, he wouldn't get past Los Angeles and Philly to get back to their pick at, 19? So I would go Jordan Davis there. Okay, I have 2 back-to-back New Orleans picks, which is fun. I'm having a lot of fun with that.
I mean, and Jordan Davis is the most the coolest player in this draft by far. When you're talking about just I
don't know if you know this, Oliver, friend of the program, Oliver hates Jordan Davis. Thinks he's a third round pick.
No.
Yeah, before he was the greatest athlete of all time. Before he was the greatest athlete of all time, I thought he was a second round pick. I just wasn't super high on him, and then he was Superman, and I was like,
I just simply there are certain players. I'm having trouble pulling up this, so I'm just gonna give up on it. But there are certain players that I just simply don't care about functionally what they're gonna end up doing. Also, absolute dominated my Chargers pick here with Jordan Davis going the pick before.
Yeah, see, it was a good pick. Smart pick.
It was a good pick, but I just there are certain players that I don't care functionally what they can do. You just need them on your team. Jordan Davis is one of them.
Yep,
just absolute stud, bona fide stud. So I have the Chargers here. Do we hate? I mean, their top need is listed as a wide receiver. I don't actually feel like their top need is wide receiver, but do we hate wide receiver here for them?
Yeah, I do. They've got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, right?
They managed to keep Mike Williams, but they don't really have a whole lot behind that. Josh Palmer did not look like a long-term NFL player last year.
Oh, I was so right about Josh Palmer. I was so right about him. No, I feel like they've got 2 outside guys, and where they would be looking to add to a
this would be a spot where I could justify Chris Olave, in my opinion. That's what I'm thinking here. I know you don't like Bernard Raymond too much, but
PatsBubble.com, read tomorrow. We'll have something up on him by your boy. But I think 3 straight spots here is good for both Olave and Garrett Wilson. I think they both fit in all 3 of these spots.
Yep. Chat, what do we think here?
That Olave Chargers jersey on my doorstep.
I'm going Chris Olave. Upset.
What a jersey that would be.
I'm taking Chris Olave before he even reaches the Patriots. After
Number
I just
2.
talked about how I wouldn't even be betting on wide receiver here. Chris Olave to the Chargers, wide receiver 3. Their wide receiver 3, put him in the slot. Keenan Allen on Mike Williams on the outside. That's where he could thrive year 1.
With the most talented quarterback in football, I said it. Hell yeah.
All right, chat. Eagles for the second time.
I love it.
If we're talking pure talent, it's got to be Josh Allen, probably.
Not Patty.
Pure talent, not putting it all together. It's got to be Josh Allen. Pure talent, including putting it together consistently, it's Patty, and then probably Herbert behind both of them.
I think he's in between them, which means he's number 1 for me.
Fair. We've got we had Sauce going to the Jets. I was just thinking for a second that this would be a good spot for him. We have 2 McDuffies and a Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson in Philly is a death sentence.
You think so?
He needs an accurate quarterback, and they just don't have one.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. How do you feel about Jalen Hurts long term?
I like Jalen Hurts. I think we just finished year 2, going into year 3. This is an opportunity to see what you have in him, really, because I feel like they've never really given him the keys to the castle. Just go for it this year. Like, see what you've got. I don't think he's going to end up being the long-term answer, but I think he's a guy who can play football and he can do it well. So I think there's a spot for him somewhere. I just don't know if it's on a team who should, by the end of these next 2 drafts, have all the pieces to contend. Right.
And I was just, Oliver, that's why I was just scrolling. I was just realizing that we hadn't even seen Jermaine Johnson yet.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him more in depth next week as an actual prospect, but this definitely feels like we're getting towards the lower end of where he would be falling to, realistically. Yeah. So keep that in mind moving forward. It looks like McDuffie's going to be the winner here. We got 2 McDuffie votes and 1 Wilson vote. So we will go with Trent McDuffie at this point, 18 to the Eagles. And that takes you on the board with the Saints for your second Saints pick after you took Jordan Davis.
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer at this point.
Yep.
All right. The Steelers, at this point, they should not be taking a quarterback. But because I don't like the Steelers and because it's probably the most realistic outcome, I'm going to force a quarterback to them because it'll be funny. So I will probably go Kenny Pickett here because he feels like the biggest lock to go in the first round.
Yeah. Malik went already. I was like, what are you doing? But
no, he's gone. Again, we talked about how he's probably going to be at 6. He went to Pitt, so it's an easy selling point. Dan Marino should have gone to the Steelers and all that crap. Sam Howell feels like a quintessential Steeler, though. So that would be my other pick there, but I'll go Kenny Pickett. And I think it'll be hilariously bad.
So, I know they just signed Mitch Trubisky, who he'll start the first few games. Mm-hmm. What do we think about them trading for Baker Mayfield? Do we think that's a possibility?
No, I don't.
They've
think
seen him too much.
I don't think the Steelers would want that. I don't think the Browns would do it just in case. I hate it. All right, we're not going to talk about the Steelers though. Patriots are on the clock at 21. We have 3 trade downs already coming in. We will trade down for you guys, but I want to know names if they. It has to be in the first round, and I want to know names if you were to stick at 21 who you'd be taking right now. We will work a trade back while you guys send me in names.
Oh, it's our boy.
Hello, Mr. Patrick Lane. Look at that handsome mug.
Shut out that handsome boy. We love it.
I can't imagine the Steelers wanting Baker. I can't imagine the Browns trading with the Steelers for a quarterback. It doesn't make any sense to me all around. Andrew Booth Jr. Thank you, Oliver. This is absolutely who I would be taking here. I wouldn't be trading back. Andrew Booth is good enough that this would be my pick. However, you guys voted on trade, so we'll trade. Keegan, I'm gonna make it up to us to figure out where a good trading spot would be, and then whoever's pick that would be, we'll just pick here, and then the chat will pick again when the pages come back up. I think Kansas City would make a lot of sense.
I do too. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, if they were to trade back, I assume it would be their second first round pick. They would want the earlier one.
I would think they would trade 29. I don't think that a team would let them get away with trading 30. To be honest, I'm sure obviously they would want to do that. So I would say 29, and then you're looking at probably like their second round pick. I think they have multiple, right? And because this is the Patriots, let's like work out an actual trade. I won't just force it through. Yeah, so they have 2 second round picks. So I think if you did 29 and 62 for 21 and something like 170. Let me pull up Rich Hill's trade chart here. So 29 is worth
50.
29 is worth about 200 points, and 62 is worth 84 points. So that gets you to 287. And 21 is worth 261. So you'd be winning that trade straight up for 29 and 62.
Right.
170 doesn't add it. 170 doesn't add a ton, but it gets it to about a 12-point difference. I think this is about right. Maybe it's 158 instead, but we'll say 170. We'll make this work for the Patriots.
Okay. Yep.
Out of curiosity, I'm going to see what happens if we offer it, if they were to accept it. They didn't accept it, so we'll just force it through. But so the Chiefs are on the clock and doing some math here. This was them. 29 would be 27. That would have been me, right? I'd be picking for the Chiefs here at 29.
I can pull it up right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the Chiefs came up.
Yeah. No, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, at 29, I think. Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Excuse me. So the Chiefs came up because there's one wide receiver who could be a potential difference maker left on the board, and they need to replace Tyreek Hill. The skill set does not match Tyreek Hill even a little bit. However, they see the vision with Drake London, and they came up, gave up an extra second-round pick to take him. Again, we talked about him. I think that there's a path to being Mike Evans, and I think that there's a path to being N'Keal Harry. Obviously, Kansas City is about as ideal of a landing spot as you can get for any wide receiver right now. So I would trust them to figure it out. But that's big risk, high risk, high reward type situation there.
Yeah, and we're gonna back it up with another wide receiver pick, Treylon Burks. I think it would be so funny if the wide receiver that they went out and got for Aaron Rodgers after trading the best wide receiver in football, in my opinion, was Treylon Burks. Mm-hmm. So Treylon Burks to the Packers feels right. Okay, that was the other thought that I had at 21 because he feels more like a Kansas City wide receiver, but again, I don't think he's good. So I don't think he's good enough, I should say. So this will be used in the chat. Yes, this comes back to me for the Cardinals, which would be the normal slotting pick here at 23. The Cardinals are another one in a weird spot. I think I'm going to take. Let me pull up their depth chart again real quick here. If you want a couple of examples of what they've done in other mocks, Jahan Dotson, Devontae Wyatt, and Zion Johnson have all been. I was thinking Zion here. That was my leader in the club. I wanted to see where they're at. Their cornerback situation is rough, and Andrew Booth has fallen more than far enough, I think, in this one. So I'm going to go Andrew Booth. Okay. I think that is a top 15 caliber player who, just because of the depth of the position, has a chance to be here realistically. Like I said, for the Patriots, I would have been running to the podium for him. I think that there are a handful of teams here that should be taking him. And that takes chat on the clock with the Cowboys. Bernard Raymond is such a Cowboys pick.
Chat's saying Devontae Wyatt so far.
Such a Cowboys pick.
And I would like to officially be on board with literally every single Georgia defensive player at any point in this draft. You want Darian Kendrick, looks like he'll probably be a day 3 pick at this point. You want to take him round 2. Like, it's a Georgia defensive player. I trust him. We got multiple Wyatts. We got 3 Wyatts, a Trevor Penning, and 2 Zion Johnsons. We got a 4th
Wyatt's taking over.
It looks like Wyatt's going to win here. So we will go with Devontae Wyatt to the Cowboys. And that puts you on the clock for the Bills.
Nakobe Dean.
Nope, he's gone.
What?
Yeah, he went 15.
Oh, I forgot. Damn, I was so excited to see you get upset.
I would have been furious.
You just took Booth. We went
Yeah,
Wyatt.
Booth's gone. Devontae Wyatt's gone. All the wide receivers I would be thinking about here are gone. We kind of put the Bills in a tough spot, which I respect, except for the fact that the Bills don't really have significant weaknesses right now, which is annoying.
That's the issue, where I think their biggest one is that off-ball linebacker. So I'm going to stretch a little bit. I'm going to go Kay Walker from Georgia, another Georgia guy.
Okay. I was thinking David Ojabo because he's coming off the injury and they would have, that's the type of position that you don't mind drafting for luxury. And he has the talent and they could work him in slowly. That would have been my thought. But I like this too.
Just quick on Ojabo because we won't talk about him much because he got in. With him, I think it's hard because he was already a project, and now he's a project with an Achilles injury, and that's a lot. That's a lot for a team to undertake, especially in the first round.
Yep. Titans are on the clock here. I think that this is probably a Karlaftis spot at this point. They have a handful of needs. They could stand to get deeper. If a wide receiver fell here, that'd be a good pick. Again, Zion Johnson. I think just about everyone left in the first round once you reach the Patriots could justify taking Zion Johnson, except for maybe the Packers. So I think that Karlaftis makes a lot of sense here for the Titans. Though. And that takes chat on.
It's also an option.
That takes chat onto the clock for the Bucks. Jermaine Johnson was an option. You are correct. I don't think realistically he would get here, which isn't a reason not to take him, but that's why Karlaftis immediately jumped in my mind. That feels like a pick that makes sense.
Right. Why did people want them to draft Zion Johnson? I don't get it.
For the Titans?
For Tampa. No, for Tampa. Why Tampa Zion Johnson?
They are down a lot guard still, even though they got Shaq Mason.
Yeah,
they lost Marpet and Kappa. It's probably. If you look at just like glaring position of need, I think guard is probably their best, their biggest need right now.
Okay.
Zion Johnson also is extremely similar to me to Shaq Mason, both as a player and athletically. And I think he's a better athlete than Shaq, but he's built similarly. So that those two on the same line would be devastating.
And with him, he can do like everything too. He could if your tackle goes down, he could go play tackle if you needed him to.
I think that we kind of intentionally didn't talk about him because I thought he would. If I was picking for the Patriots at 21, he would have been right at the top of the board for who could have been going. I think that he's a top 10 talented player in the draft. This draft, I love Zion Johnson. He is absurdly good. He's he is. If you want to talk about replacing Shaq Mason without a drop off like year one, that's Zion Johnson. That's the pick. Incredible player.
All right, so I'm up with Green Bay. We're gonna go Trevor Penning.
Okay.
They need
Penning over Raymond.
I do. I don't get the Bernard Raymond thing.
Chat, you are going to be on the board twice in a row here, but here's the most important one. We have the Patriots pick. We're not letting you trade back again. So in between, just a sense of who you could have had and lost out at. At 21, you had Drake London go, Traylon Burks, Andrew Booth, Devontae Wyatt, Quay Walker, George Karlaftis, Zion Johnson, and Trevor Penning. A lot of names that have been linked to the Patriots just went off the board in those 8 picks that you dropped. So you're hoping that you can still get someone good here. There's a few names here that I still like. We have a Jermaine Johnson coming in.
A lot of
we have 3-4 Elams at this point. Travis Jones. And Oliver hates the chat for making us miss out on Booth. I honestly, Travis Jones doesn't even register as a name to me. I don't know who that is.
He's a defensive tackle from UConn, which sounds more ridiculous than it actually is. Like, he's a good football player, but first round for a defensive tackle from UConn, no thanks.
I think chat's looking back now and is kind of retrospectively agreeing with me that Andrew Booth at 21 probably would have been the move here. But you got an extra second round pick. There's good players on the board. It looks like Kyer Elam is going to be the pick. I like Elam a lot. He's on my list of people I would take at 21, given how the board falls. He's towards the bottom of it, so it's probably not something that would happen, and a trade back makes probably a little bit more sense. But I think Elam's a good player. If they traded back to 29 and then got a second round pick and then got to take Kyer Elam, I'd be thrilled. It's just the perspective of losing out on Booth, who I think is that tier above at corner, that would hurt a little bit.
Yep. Like I said earlier, I think they're all very similar players, so you're not losing a ton by trading back, picking up extra capital.
I would put Booth probably in his own tier, honestly, because I don't think he's quite Stingley or Sauce, but I do think he's better than like McDuffie, Elam, Peter, Dax Hill, the other Kyler Gordon, those types of guys. So he's probably in his own tier, but I'd say he's closer to Sauce and Stingley for me. So I would 21 would have been a no-brainer in my opinion.
By the way, I don't want to correct you. This is rude, but it's Jalen Petrie. And also
I have no clue how to pronounce that.
Yeah, him and Kyler Gordon, like you talk about draft crushes other than Olave. I fucking love those two guys. They're awesome.
I will take literally any Washington corner, and Kyler Gordon is a better corner name than Trent McDuffie. So that is my pick.
Kyler Gordon is a NASCAR name.
It is a NASCAR name.
You added one letter to a legit NASCAR driver. So
yep. Skye Williams to pick at 29. So you come away as the Patriots with an extra second-round pick. I think it was 62nd overall, and Kyer Elam to move down from 21. And again, your trade-off is losing out on Drake London, Traylon Burks, Andrew Booth, Devontae Wyatt, Kay Walker, George Karlaftis, Zion Johnson, and Trevor Penning. So some good names in there. I'd be happy with that. What would you give that as a grade if you saw that round one on the live show, Keegan?
For the Patriots for Elam?
Yeah. Yeah. Before you know what they do with that second-round pick.
B-.
B-?
Solid B-. I think C just sounds so harsh. But B-,
But C is average. Like, the average should come out to be a C if you're grading the entire draft.
Right.
I'd be high on that, though, honestly. The only thing that would lose points is the fact that Andrew Booth was still there. If Booth was gone, Elam is in the group of guys that I would be like about the same level on at 21. So I would say instead of being an A, it'd be like an A- to me, because Booth, you could have had Booth at 21. But picking up an extra second-round pick, we don't know what they do with it yet. Knowing them, they'd probably trade back from it again. That 29 or Elam at 29 with an extra second-round pick is like a almost perfect draft night. Yeah. It looks like the chat has been coming in with the Chiefs pick, and we have a Skye Moore. Pat, I hope you missed my slander of Skye Moore earlier because I know you're a big fan of him. And we have 2 Jermaine Johnson picks. 3 Jermaine Johnson picks. Yeah, so we'll go with Jermaine Johnson here for the Chiefs. And as the last chat pick of the night, Keegan, give us the Bengals pick here.
The Bengals is tough. They did a lot of shuffling on the offensive line. They kind of set their top unit. So I'm going to go with a DB. Give me Lewis Seen out of Georgia.
Okay.
I think like adding him to Jesse Bates and Von Bell, and he's Lewis Seen's a guy who can get on the field. That's in the slot. I like that pick.
Okay. And I'm going to close up the draft for the Lions with a name that we talked about before. And you didn't love the fit for the Patriots just because he is a kind of a duplicate asset to what they already have on the roster. But for the Lions that just need talent and they can figure out where his best fit is because they have needs everywhere, I would love this for them at 32. I'm going to go Dax Hill to close out the draft.
Yeah, I like that.
So we have draft periods coming in, full results, and we get some ads in here. And just a quick recap here.
Keep that top 10 up for me.
Yes, sir.
All right, you're good.
All right. We had Aiden Hutchinson go first overall to the Jaguars, Kayvon Thibodeau second to the Lions, Kyle Hamilton third to the Texans, Evan Neal to the Jets, Derek Stingley to the Giants, Malik Willis is the first quarterback off the board to the Panthers, Ike Ekwonu is the 7th pick to the Giants, who, just real quick, I mean, it's easy when you're picking 5th and 7th, but the Giants had the best draft here, right?
Yes, correct.
Stingley and Ekwonu. Desmond Ridder was a trade up to Washington, who then kick Wentz to the curb like they should have in the first place. Charles Cross goes 9 to the Seahawks, another sneaky good pick. Ahmad Gardner to the Jets, Jameson Williams to the Falcons after they trade down, Trayvon Walker 12th to the Vikings, Devin Lloyd to the Texans, Tyler Linderbaum to the Ravens, Nakobe Dean to the Eagles, my king, Jordan Davis, also my king, to the Saints. Chris Olave to the Chargers. Trent McDuffie to the Eagles. Garrett Wilson to the Saints. Kenny Pickett to the Steelers. Worst pick of the draft. Love that for them. Drake London to the Chiefs with the Patriots' original pick. Traylon Burks to the Packers. Andrew Booth to the Cardinals. Another probably one of the best picks of the draft, in my opinion. Devontae Wyatt to the Cowboys. Kay Walker to the Bills. George Karlaftis to the Titans. Zion Johnson to the Bucks. Trevor Penning to the Packers. Kaiir Elam to the Patriots at 29 after the trade down. Jermaine Johnson to the Chiefs. Louis Cine to the Bengals. And Daxton Hill to the Lions. That's going to do it for us. As you can hear, my voice is just steadily going to shit. I apologize for that. But that's going to do it for week 1 of the mock draft show. Keegan, any final thoughts?
I think we got a good mix of realistic and kind of off-the-wall picks going.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very Pat's Pulpit mock draft. I think we did a good job. Round of applause for everybody in the chat.
Oliver, we will be doing a 7-rounder for Just Pat's Picks the final week of the show, which will be the Tuesday before the draft. Depending on time, I think we might do like a full 1-round mock and then also a 7-rounder for the Pats, Keegan. If you're good with that, that's kind of what's going through my head right now, but we'll play it by ear.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, cool. So we will be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. And then we will be focusing on defense, and we will be doing another mock. We'll have a new order. Maybe we go a little bit more in depth the trade possibilities there. So don't miss it. If you're watching on Twitch and you're not following us, go ahead and hit that follow button. Follow Keegan on Twitter at that @ right there. Don't follow me. Follow Pat's Pulpit at Pat's Pulpit. Pat's _Pulpit?
No, Pat's Pulpit.
No, Pat's Pulpit. All right, thank you. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is also Pat's Pulpit. We will be back next week. Hopefully my voice will be in a bit better shape. And other than that, we will see you then. Have a good night, guys.